Welcome to our cheating stories. We have two stories today, and in the first, OP falls in love with his tenant. Let's get to it. Story 1. I'm married, and I'm falling in love with my tenant. I've, 31 male, have been married with my wife, 26 female, for 6 years, been together for 7. We've had our rough patches, but we genuinely work well together, and love each other very much. But I see how well she talks with her ex, who I firmly believe is just a friend, and I realize that we just don't have that same level of chemistry. They can talk for an hour, we can barely have a back and forth conversation for 10 minutes, and while I'm not jealous that they have a secret relationship or anything, I've always felt like something was missing. Earlier last year, we had a new tenant, 26 female, move into our downstairs condo area. Nice, friendly, tragic woman with a brain tumor, and 2 kids. It didn't take long to realize that, even casually, we had chemistry. We would accidentally say the same things in a sentence. I helped her kids, 6 and 7, learn more about respect, learning, and love when they were about to be kicked out of school for bullying and being disruptive. And I was fine with that, just having an extended little family that takes care of each other. But eventually, our relationship became different. We'd say lighthearted things, in a casual sentence, that I realize now, felt like flirting. She developed a weird habit of avoiding looking at me, but constantly smiles when she knows I'm looking at her. Soon after, her laughter started haunting my dreams, and I haven't been able to get a decent night's sleep since. I have confessed to her that I had feelings, to warn her while she was away for a long time, in case that made her uncomfortable about returning. She said she kind of knew, and I apologized. She returned a day or so later, as she was originally planning to. I later told her that I thought I could fix my condition by using negative reinforcement. If she could tell me something I did that made her uncomfortable, or that I was a creep, I could just remember that every time I thought of her, and eventually I'd be conditioned to not want to think about her anymore. She said she wanted to support me, the way I have for her, during her relationship drama, and I honestly did try to help her, and her toxic boyfriend at the time, fix their relationship, even if I didn't agree with her decisions, but she didn't tell me what I needed to hear. I later confessed how crazy she makes me, and how terrible I feel about it, but it wasn't enough for me to stop loving her. I apologized, told her I wasn't sure if I was crazy for her, or just plain crazy, and that only thing that could make me stop was if she told me she wanted me to. She didn't respond to that. The only confirmation I received was when I saw her in person afterwards. She said that we were good, she had a friend nearby. That was the only confirmation of anything I've received in weeks. She has been avoiding saying anything about it directly, and it's driving me insane. So far, she still avoids looking at me, smiling any time she's nearby, and her laughter still haunts my dreams. What's even worse is that our conversations have become this awkward teenage crush scenario, where we both fumble over our words, but only when we are talking to each other. It's stupid, annoying, and it's crazy. I'm married, with a devoted wife, who doesn't always appreciate me, but has always been faithful. And my tenant has 2 troubled kids. She has maybe a year to live, and she inspires me to be a better person every day. And I'm her goddamn landlord, a position of responsibility and power. If I fuck this up, all 3 of us might end up without a home. For the record, we have never kissed or hugged, we've barely touched hands when handing things off to each other. I'm still figuring this out as I go, but neither of us want me to, cheat on my wife. And honey, if you end up reading this, you'll know exactly who I am, and I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. I never wanted to betray you. End of story 1. Now, time for our second. Story 2. My girlfriend lied to me, and went to see her ex, and I caught her in the lie. I, 27 male, was with my girlfriend, 26 female, for 5 months, before I caught her in a lie, just this week. She had an ex that had recently moved into town, from out of state. Knowing everything I know now, there's no way he didn't move here for them to be together. Anyway, we initially talked about the ex being in town, and at first, she seemed transparent about the whole thing. I mentioned that it was a little odd to me that he was so insistent on seeing her right after getting into town, about 2 weeks ago. I would have had no problem with her letting me know they were gonna catch up at a restaurant/bar, etc., as I would extend the same courtesy to any of my exes if they came to my city. A few days pass, and she calls me at about 4:30 after I'm off work. She says she's gonna hit the gym and go home after. Okay, cool, have fun. It gets to then be around 9 p.m. that night. She almost always calls me before bed, but this time texts me, and not in the usual way she texts. She was so tired from the gym, and was going to go to bed. I called her because I wanted to talk to her before bed. But when she answers, and we speak, I can notice that it doesn't sound like she's at home. There's a TV on, she hardly ever watches TV, and it sounds so much more echoey, like a big open room. I begin to get dubious. We say goodnight, and hang up, but I'm not quite done yet. I had some contact fluid, sitting in a very particular place at her apartment, and you'd be able to see it very easily. So, I call back, and ask if she's seen it anywhere, and she says she is looking but can't find it in the place where I think I may have left it. So now my heart starts to race. In a moment of instinct, I drive to her house, to see if her car is there. As I pull up, the only spot in the complex that she has to park in, does not have her car. I walk up to her apartment, and since we both had keys to each other's places, I enter, and she's nowhere to be found. I then begin to call her, multiple times, no answer. Almost an hour passes before she calls me again. I was actually on my way back to her place, from my house, since I had to first call out of work, and get some things. She asks me where I'm at, and says she's now at my house. I ask her where she's been, and she says she was at her ex's house. My world flipped upside down. I don't really need to cover the details of our conversation, but ultimately, she was with her ex from 6 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., at his house the entire time. They talked, made dinner together, and listened to music they liked together, for multiple hours. This was all what she had outlined. Whether or not things were physical, I'll never truly know. At the very least, she admitted to lying to me, because she knew I'd be upset either way, and admitted to having an emotional affair behind my back. She had decided that she was going to see him at about 2 p.m. I told her that I could not go on with her lying to me, and ultimately dumped her cheating ass. I don't believe that she has that much remorse, as she was so indignant and defensive when I confronted her. She cried, and cried, almost to the point of it being a little pathetic, and who knows how much of it all was a facade. I know I deserve better. Every second, from the moment she decided to go see him, was a chance to come clean, and stop herself. End of story 2. Thanks for listening, and if you have enjoyed, please consider subscribing. Have a great day.